Welcome to this explainer of Robert Louis Stevenson's legendary adventure, Treasure Island. We're jumping straight in today to map out every single twist, turn, and betrayal from the original text, breaking it all down scene by scene. We're going to track the journey, dig into the characters, and watch the stakes get higher and higher. So get comfortable, because we are setting sail into one of the greatest survival stories ever written.
Picture this. What would you actually do if a pirate's map just suddenly landed in your lap? To really get this story, you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of our brave young hero, Jim Hawkins. Jim is just living a totally normal, quiet life with his parents, running a place called the Admiral Benbow Inn. It's super peaceful. But then, right out of nowhere, this mysterious, rum-drinking old sailor named Billy Bones shows up. And he doesn't just want a room, he demands that Jim keep a constant paranoid lookout for a one-legged man. It's a seriously creepy start that rips Jim right out of his ordinary life and throws him into a world of hidden dangers.
And that danger gets very real, very fast, when a terrifying blind pirate named Pew shows up at the inn. Pew delivers what's called the black spot to Billy Bones. Now, the black spot isn't just a dirty piece of paper, it's a physical token used by pirate gangs to deliver a death sentence. Literally. The sheer shock of receiving this thing actually causes Billy Bones to just drop dead of a stroke right there on the floor. But in the absolute chaos of his sudden death, Jim and his mom make a massive discovery. Stashed away inside Billy's old sea chest, they find a secret treasure map.
Act 1, the call to adventure. So Jim is a pretty smart kid. He doesn't just sit on this secret, he takes his discovery straight to the local authorities. He finds the steady leader of their community, Dr. Livesey, and a wealthy local guy named Squire Trelawney. The second they look at this map, the doctor and the squire instantly realize exactly what Jim has stumbled onto. And right then and there, they make a firm decision. They are going after this treasure themselves.
To actually get to the gold, they immediately buy a ship, the Hispaniola, and put together an expedition team. The dynamics here are super important to keep in mind. You've got Squire Trelawney, who steps up to bankroll the whole voyage. You've got Dr. Livesey acting as the wise voice of reason. They bring on a really honest, no-nonsense guy named Captain Smollett to keep the crew in line. And finally, to feed everybody, they hire this incredibly clever, charming, and seemingly friendly new ship's cook, a one-legged man named Long John Silver. Act 2, the betrayal. Once the Hispaniola is out on the open ocean heading toward Treasure Island, the vibe on the ship really starts to shift. Young Jim quickly becomes buddies with the ship's cook, Long John Silver. Silver is charismatic, he's super helpful, and he kind of takes Jim under his wing. At this point, Jim is completely 100% oblivious to the incredibly dark intentions brewing right beneath his feet down in the crew's quarters. Then, the illusion just totally shatters. One night, Jim is hidden away out of sight, and he accidentally overhears a conversation that changes the entire game. It's Long John Silver and a bunch of other sailors, and they're actively plotting a violent rebellion, a full-blown mutiny to hijack the ship and steal the treasure for themselves. Now, because Jim is so perceptive, he manages to slip away completely unnoticed, which lets him quietly warn Dr. Livesey and Captain Smollett about what's coming. So the trap is set, but now our heroes know they're standing right in it. By the time they anchor at the island, the tension is just off of charts. The very second they arrive, Jim decides to take a massive gamble. Instead of staying trapped on this ticking time bomb of a ship, he sneaks ashore into the unknown wild jungle of Treasure Island. And it's out there, wandering totally on his own, that he makes a completely wild discovery that flips the whole expedition upside down. He actually stumbles upon a guy named Ben Gunn. Ben is, well, he's a bizarre character. He's a sailor who was marooned and stranded on this exact island years ago. He's totally cut off from the outside world. Desperate for any human contact and a ride home, Ben promises to help Jim and his friends survive. But there's a catch. They have to agree to rescue him and take him back to civilization. Right after this, the powder keg finally explodes. Long John Silver realizes his secret mutiny plan is out, so his pirate gang just drops the friendly act and openly rebels against the captain. The line in the sand is drawn. The loyal crew on one side, the mutineers on the other. Being hugely outnumbered, Captain Smollett, Dr. Livesey, the squire, Jim, and the few guys still loyal to them have to abandon ship. They flee the Hispaniola and barricade themselves inside this old, run-down wooden stockade on the island. Once they're locked inside that fortress, an absolutely fierce and desperate battle kicks off. The honest loyalists are trapped, and they have to fight tooth and nail to defend their makeshift base from Silver's pirates, who are just relentlessly attacking. Musket fire everywhere. Guys are getting injured. The situation looks incredibly grim for our heroes. They're really just trying to survive against the sheer, overwhelming numbers of the mutineers. Act 3. The climax and twist. With all the adults completely pinned down inside the stockade, the story shifts from a defensive standoff into some seriously high-stakes action. Jim Hawkins decides he is not just going to sit around waiting for the pirates to break in. He decides to pull off this incredibly risky, heroic gamble all by himself. I mean, listen to exactly how Jim ends up saving the day here. First, he secretly sneaks out of the stockade, totally risking his life. Second, he swims all the way out and captures the Hispaniola by cutting its anchor rope, sending this massive ship drifting away. Third, he climbs aboard and ends up in a brutal one-on-one fight with a ruthless pirate named Israel Hands and actually defeats him. Finally, Jim manages to steer the ship to a completely hidden spot on the coast, literally securing the only ride home for his friends. Meanwhile, back on the island, things are moving fast. Long John Silver and his remaining crew have managed to get their hands on the treasure map. Thinking he has absolutely won the grand prize, Silver leads his desperate, bloodthirsty pirates straight through the dense jungle, marching right to the exact X on the map. I mean, they are practically spending the gold in their heads already. And here is where we get the most shocking twist of the whole story. The pirates eagerly dig into the dirt, only to look down and realize the treasure pit is totally empty. The legendary fortune is gone. It's already been dug up. That shock instantly turns into murderous rage, and the pirates immediately turn their weapons on Long John Silver, violently blaming him for dragging them halfway across the world to look at a worthless hole in the ground. So where did all that treasure actually go? Well, the mystery is solved when Ben Gunn, remember him, steps up and reveals his big secret. During those long, lonely years stranded on the island, Ben had actually stumbled across the treasure site. He dug it all up himself and painstakingly moved all that gold deep inside a hidden cave. And since Ben is firmly allied with Jim and the Loyalists, yep, that means our heroes now have complete and total control of the immense fortune. With the pirates completely defeated by their own greed and left with absolutely no ship to escape on, the gold is fully secured by our heroes. The ordeal is finally wrapping up. The Loyalists carefully load up that massive fortune onto the Hispaniola, the ship Jim so cleverly hid, and they get ready to make the long voyage back home. But honestly, you can never truly corner a guy like Long John Silver. In classic, clever pirate fashion, Silver actually manages to slip away during the voyage home, escaping into the unknown with just a tiny sliver of the treasure for himself. As for Jim and his surviving friends, they continue their journey and make it safely back to the shores of England, forever changed by what they just went through. Tracing the timeline of this whole journey highlights just how wildly Jim's life escalated. I mean, think about this pacing. The whole thing kicks off with just one single chaotic day at the Admiral Benbow. That pushes them into 2 weeks of mounting hidden tension out on the ocean. That explodes into 3 days of desperate, bloody survival at the island stockade, before wrapping up with a 4-month journey just to get safely back to England. It is an incredibly fast-paced descent into absolute danger. After surviving the sheer terror of the Black Spot, the ruthless mutinies, and those heartbreaking betrayals, Jim Hawkins makes a very firm decision. He will never, ever seek another treasure adventure again. He's had enough danger for one lifetime. But as we finish unpacking this incredible story, I really want to leave you with this. After experiencing all of this, knowing the deadly risks but seeing that unimaginable, life-changing reward, would you?